I was initially going to play Nier Automata, do a video, and then do a video on Replicant when it released. I played through Automata, but thought I should leave my wallet alone for Replicant, considering the amount of games releasing soon. Well, I'm weak. I caved, and I bought Nier Replicant version 1.22474487113. That's no joke, that's exactly what the title is. I'm so glad I picked this game up. The world, the story, the characters, and combat are phenomenal. Now, it has plenty of issues, but I really enjoyed it. So here are 5 reasons to buy Nier Replicant, and stick around at the end for 3 reasons to avoid. Number 5. It's a lot like Nier Automata. This point is quite simple. I think if you enjoyed Automata, there is plenty here to love. The combat is a more grounded take on Automata's combat. It's slower and more deliberate in my eyes. It takes place before Automata, so I love seeing how things were linked together. If you like Nier Automata, then go play this game. Number 4 is the combat. Feck me, is it fun. You have 3 different classes of weapons that play different, so you'll definitely find something to suit your style. I personally prefer the quick one-handed swords, but for heavy hitters there are plenty of two-handed weapons to choose from. On top of this, you have your magic given to you by the wonderful Grimoire Vice, and there's loads of variety to mix and match playstyles. I think it suffers from the same issues that Nier Automata does, and that is the difficulty of combat. It's extremely flashy and fun, but the lack of depth is a bit disappointing and it's slightly too easy. Number 3 is the story. If you like dark, somber stories, then Nier Replicant has you covered. This game is depressing. From the muted colour palette to the gloomy music and a dark story about loss and the protection of loved ones. I had a constant pit in my stomach as to what would happen next, and I'm not going to lie, I shed a few tears across my 15 or so hours. Few stories has resonated with me as much as Replicant has, and it'll stick with me for some time to come. Number 2, let's talk about the characters. The story is filled to the brim with despair, and the one thing lighting the way was the interaction between the characters that accompany you on your journey. I can't emphasise this enough. Nier Replicant did more for creating compelling characters in 15 hours than other games can achieve in 50. It's very rare that a game can have me smiling from ear to ear 1 minute, then nearly in tears the next. It's amazing what Yoko Taro and his team pulled off. A game that was released 11 years ago holds up against the big hitters in 2021. I don't want to spoil anything, so you'll just have to trust me on this one. Number 1, and I know I just spoke about characters, but I saved a whole spot for the best character, Grimoire Vice, your scholarly companion. And yes, he's a floating book, you'll just have to accept that for what it is. Firstly, let's appreciate Liam O'Brien for his absolutely phenomenal performance.
Run to go, keep your guard up.
Grimoire sounds almost like Snape from Harry Potter. He is wonderfully written and the delivery only reinforces it. For whatever reason, the best character development is shown by a book, and his lines are absolutely hilarious. This isn't even mentioning the feck off magic powers that absolutely destroy enemies. I genuinely love this character. Now, it's not all sunshine and roses. While I love this game, there is plenty wrong with it. So the first reason to avoid this game are the enemy designs. I really don't like the shades. Fighting them isn't all too interesting, and the different variants don't really add much in the way of depth or challenge. They feel like a rip-off of the Heartless from Kingdom Hearts, and I didn't care for them at all. In some cases, I just avoided combat with them as I travelled around the overworld. It's kind of a shame because Nier Automata had some really interesting enemies, but this just didn't do it for me. Number 2 are the graphics. Look, this is a remake of a 2010 game, so I wasn't expecting too much. But in some instances, the game is fecking ugly. Texture work is bad, and the use of colours is practically non-existent. I think it works in some cases, lend itself to the depressing tone of the game, the same way Shadow of Colossus does, but as a whole, I didn't like the graphics at all. However, there was one thing I hated above all else, so the number 1 reason to avoid Nier Replicant is the side quests. I have never seen a worse implementation of side quests in a game. They are either delivery or fetch quests, most of the time leading you from one town to the next with very little reward. And when it involves combat, it's usually just farm a room of enemies for 5 of whatever item they're looking for. This would take about 20 minutes, and then you get like 1,000 gold as a reward. It just wasn't worth it. I started out doing them, but after 5 hours I said, feck it, I don't want to do any more side quests. The main quest is phenomenal, but the side quests are bad. So there we have Nier Replicant. I really appreciate your time. We're almost to 900 subscribers, and I'm aiming for 1k by the end of May, so I would love if you subscribed. Let me know what you think of Nier Replicant, and I'll see you all on the next video.